And breaking today, Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is now inviting Hunter Biden to appear at a public hearing along with a few of his business associates, including Tony Bobulinski and Devon Archer. Now, remember, Hunter and his team, they have been demanding a public hearing for months. Originally, they said that he wouldn't show up for anything other than a public hearing. But now, well, not so sure. After his deposition, Hunter's lawyers said, quote, "Oh, there's nothing left to say. Oh, there's plenty of questions to ask." So it's to be determined in terms of whether Hunter will show up or not. My guess is that was nothing more at the time than a PR stunt to get him out of the deposition. Here with the very latest, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is with us. Now, the general practice is that if you subpoena somebody, they come in, they give a deposition, they give it under oath. Both Republicans and Democrats, my understanding is you get an hour each per side, then you go an hour, you switch on and off, correct?
That's correct.
How did that go when Hunter was in there, in your view?
I think it went great. You know, the Republicans, we went the first hour. We asked a lot of questions in that first hour, substantive questions about specific transactions with some of these shady LLCs that the president's son had. And we got him on record. I'm not going to say yet whether or not we believe the truthfulness of what he said about some of the transactions and some of the wires and some of the sources of the money. But we did that, and that's what a deposition's all about. Then the Democrats had an hour, and they only took 20 minutes of their hour, and they were telling him how proud they were of him, that he overcame his drug addiction and all that. I mean, it was embarrassing how the Democrats treated him. They're not serious about an investigation. They're not serious about preventing influence peddling. They're not serious about holding anyone accountable. But we did that deposition. We got a lot of substantive answers. But what we found was his answers, believe it or not, Sean, are very different from what his associates' answers were when asked the same question. And the questions revolving around Joe Biden's involvement. So we want to bring everyone in together and try to iron out the discrepancies in testimony. So we brought in, we're going to bring in three of Hunter Biden's former business partners, as well as Hunter Biden. And hopefully we can figure out what the real truth is, and the American people can see it live and in a transparent manner.
Why do I suspect that was a PR ploy to try to get him out of the deposition where the real questioning takes place? Because a lot of things probably that you've been asking him behind closed doors under oath are not things that maybe the public could know about. So I think it's doubtful. Now, I understand the issue of criminal referrals has come up. Are you prepared to bring criminal referrals to some of the people involved in this family endeavor, if you will?
I'm very prepared, Sean. The purpose of this investigation was to get the truth to the American people and then hold people accountable for wrongdoing. And we found a lot of wrongdoing. We found a lot of criminal activity involved, multiple people involved in these schemes. So we're going to do what we can to hold them accountable. You know, at the end of the day, what does accountability look like? It looks like criminal referrals. It looks like referring people to the Department of Justice. And if Merrick Garland's Department of Justice won't take any potential criminal referrals seriously, then maybe the next president with a new attorney general will. At the end of the day, my goal's always been accountability, and I think that's how you actually hold people accountable. Look, we've got to set an example for people that commit crimes, and in addition to the crime, Sean, what we found is a cover-up. I would like to name names of people that were involved in the cover-up. Look, the Bidens have been investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, by the IRS, by the FBI, by multiple U.S. attorneys in multiple districts within the Department of Justice. But yet nothing ever happened. We need to hold people in the government accountable because we have government agencies. We spend a lot of money paying these investigators, paying for these investigations, and people should be held accountable. We should not have a two-tier system of justice in America. And by looking at all the Biden activity, it's obvious we do have a two-tier criminal justice system in America.
Can you explain his answer on the WhatsApp message? I believe he said that he was out of his mind, either high on drugs or drunk at the time. I've looked at the message many times. It seems fairly coherent for somebody that's claiming to be out of their mind or high on drugs or stoned out of their mind or drunk. And it's interesting because my understanding is he didn't remember a single thing, didn't remember if he sent the message, didn't even know if the message really came from him.
Yeah.
But he did remember one thing, that his father wasn't there when he sent the message. I find that highly suspicious. He forgot everything else about the message except the fact that Joe wasn't there. That I remember.
Yeah, he played the drug card often when he would get backed in a corner. He never pled the fifth, but when he didn't want to answer a question, he said, look, I was high, I was on drugs, I can't remember anything. But I do remember my dad wasn't there. He went on to say, when pressed further in the deposition, and you can do that in the deposition. That's why I wanted to do the deposition first. You're not constrained by that 5-minute clock in a committee hearing. And we said, well, how do you remember that your dad wasn't there, but you don't remember sending the message? He said, well, I don't believe I sent it to that particular Chinese person. That last name, that's a common name in China, and I think I sent it to another person. But what's odd, you look at the WhatsApp stream, and that person kept responding back to Hunter Biden. They were communicating back and forth. It's obvious. And at the end of the day, what Hunter Biden was doing was extorting money from that Chinese national. Days after that WhatsApp message, the $5 million was transferred into his bank account. So for Hunter Biden to say he didn't remember sending the message, or he sent it to the other person, but his dad wasn't there, that's all he remembers, no one in America would believe that.
And that money was sent only days later, if my memory serves me right, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, let me then ask you this question, because I think this is important. Can you confirm, and has your committee confirmed, whether or not Hunter was at Joe's house and whether Joe was there at the time that the messages went back and forth?
If you look at the laptop, that particular day, there are pictures of Hunter in the house on that particular day. Now, we haven't confirmed whether or not Joe Biden was at the house, but Hunter Biden was at Joe Biden's house that particular day, according to pictures on the laptop. So, the evidence would point that there's a high possibility that Joe Biden was, in fact, sitting beside his son. But Hunter said under oath that even though he was high and on drugs, he couldn't remember anything except that his dad wasn't sitting beside him when he sent that message. That's
very convenient for his father, isn't it? Pretty amazing.
Convenient.
All right. We'll look forward. We're going to wait for those criminal referrals and see what happens. James Comer, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.